This stuff exists in your blind spot. If it was easy for you to see and identify, you wouldn't continue to believe the things that you believe if you saw this. But I'm going to just kind of open the doors and show you the inside of your mind and how you can start to shift those belief systems now to give you immediately more freedom around money, around marketing that will help you be successful in your business, in your life. Welcome back to the Artful Dollar. My goal with this podcast, as always, is to teach artists, tattoo artists, or anyone listening how to be successful in your business, with your money, and ultimately so that you can use that to create more art and live the life that you really want. And I talk a lot about strategy, right? I give a lot of tips and tricks and things you can physically, tangibly do on my social media and in my podcast and YouTube channel. And I also talk about mindset. And mindset's like one of those things when you ask people, like, what's your mindset around money or marketing? It's kind of hard to describe. And if we can't describe it, if we can't talk about it, we can't really make any progress in that area. So the goal of this podcast, this episode, is to give you a context to identify your own limiting beliefs around marketing, around money, and have access to a new perspective, a new way that's going to serve you both now and in the future, to help you grow your business, to help you make more money. And ultimately, I don't give a fuck about money. I care about you having freedom in your life to express yourself, to have fun, to enjoy this one life, this experience, inhabiting this meat sack, floating around a rock, spinning around a fireball. That's what I care about. And I have chosen to teach people about money and marketing as access to giving them more fulfilling lives. There's other ways to do it, right? There's other deeper spiritual practices. There's gurus out in India that you could go to. This is my method. And I will start by saying that nothing I have to say is the truth. I want you to take what I have to offer in this episode or on any episode, and I want you to try it on like you'd try on a jacket. If it helps you, if it's working, great. If not, throw it the fuck out. I don't care. I'm here learning just like you. And I'm here to share everything that I've learned. And if you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. This stuff has helped me. It's helped hundreds, thousands of people across the internet that I either get to work with or I don't work with, but consume my content. So take it with a grain of salt. Try it on. If you don't like it, just toss it. I want to share I'm going to go over an actual process on this episode that you can do with me. You can pause the episode, you can do it. There might be some journaling involved, or if you're just driving and listening to this, you can definitely get the tool that I'm going to give you today to give you some freedom around your marketing, around your money. But I want to share like how this started for me personally. So I practice what I preach, right? I listen to a lot of podcasts and I have a podcast. I take lots of different coaching programs, and I have a coaching program, right? I don't offer or do anything that I don't personally do or consume or practice myself. And I was I've taken several different mindset and philosophical courses throughout my life. And when I was in my early 20s, I was working with a coach, and we were talking about like what do I want to do with my life? I was young. I was like 22 or something like that. And, I wanted a tattoo. I was actually in school for jewelry and metalsmithing. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I have a degree in metalsmithing from FIT. I made jewelry. I actually was going to make tattoo machine frames, like coil machine frames. I've made a couple in the past that are sitting in a box somewhere. But I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself, my life. And I grew up in the New York City punk scene, going to punk shows and, getting wasted and drinking 40s on the corner or whatever. And I was talking to this coach about, what I wanted to do with either my artwork, my tattoos, my jewelry. And he kind of paused me and he said, look, first let's talk about like, what is money to you? What does it mean? And I said, well, by the way, if you're watching this, my hand is like mad swollen and fresh from getting zapped up yesterday by my man Gunny out at Inked NYC. Shout out to you, Gunny. Love you, dude. My coach said, what is money to you? And I said, being a young punk in New York City, money's evil. Money is the root of all evil. In fact, all suffering on the planet can be traced back to money as being the root cause of that suffering. I knew this to be true. And he said, okay, how's that working for you? I said, not that great. He's like, what else is money? I was like, I need more of it to be happy, to feel safe, to do what I want to do in life. I do know that to be true about money. At the time, that's what I knew to be true. And he said, how's that working for you? I was like, well, I don't have a lot of money, so it's not working out for me that well. And he said, okay, well, would you like to change those beliefs? If those beliefs aren't serving you, would you like to create new beliefs? And now here's the thing about beliefs that most people don't really get. And I don't want anyone to be offended by this. If this offends you or if this bothers you, just change the channel because it's just not for you. Everything that you believe, everything that I believe is ultimately not the truth. Everything. I mean, how many things did science believe? Science thought the world was flat, and I get there's going to be some flat earthers who be like, the world is flat, right? The world's not flat. Science believed it was flat for a period of time, and then it proved that it wasn't, right? Science believed that the earth was the center of the universe, and it proved that it wasn't. There's so many things that we believe to be true that we then later found out that it was not true. So none of your beliefs are true, and everything you know to be true about money, I have to work hard to make more money, money is power, money is freedom. Consider that none of that is the truth. It's all something that you created, you learned, you inherited at some point. Marketing, for instance. Marketing is icky, it's pushy. Someone used the word schmarmy. I think they were in England, someone I worked with. I was like, yeah, marketing is schmarmy. Yeah, you don't want to be a schmarmy marketer, right? We have all these ideas. And you want to ask yourself, how is that working for you, right? You run a business. If you're a tattoo artist, whether you work at a shop or you own a shop, or wherever you're an independent contractor or business owner, however you want to look at it, you're an entrepreneur, right? You provide a service in exchange for money so that you can make a living. That's a business. Now, if you're a business and you view marketing as this like weird, icky, overwhelming, confusing thing, if that's your relationship with it, then that's what you believe about it. Those are your beliefs. So the way you can first start to identify your beliefs is asking yourself, like, what is marketing? What is money? What's the first thing that comes right up? You just want to say it. Don't think about it too much. And we're going to go over a practice. But I was talking with this coach, and he said, all right, well, what would money be if it could be anything you wanted? And it took me a while to I was like, I don't know. It was as if I was trying to think about what money could be within the framework of what I already knew money to be. So it was like really difficult to get access to that. And this is where it honestly can be really helpful to read books, listen to podcasts, work with a coach to get that other perspective. I look at these things as sort of like mirrors reflecting things back to me that I can learn from. And so I had a blind spot around money. Like I couldn't find the solution wherever I looked. And so he said, what about art? Like what is art for you? What do you love about making art? So we kind of like changed the subject. And I was like, well, I just love being in that flow state. When I'm tattooing, there are times where I feel like I'm watching my hands do the tattoo. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm excited to see what my hands are going to discover in the tattooing process when you're in that flow state or when I'm drawing. I love that flow. It flows to me. It flows through me. He said, well, what if we took that belief system and we tried it out with money? What if money is a flow of energy and all you have to do is not block the flow? Money flows to you, it flows through you, and all you have to do is not block the flow. And I was like, that sounds cool. He's like, that's not the truth either, but you could try it on. I was like, yeah, let me try that on. And from that moment on, I was in my early 20s. I can't remember how, maybe 23. That moment, that shift in that belief system changed the rest of my life. I went on to build very successful tattoo studios, have an incredibly fulfilling, rewarding tattoo career. I had apprentices who I taught not just the art of tattooing, but the art of marketing and money and mindset. And they have gone on to have incredible, wild, successful careers. And I can see if I had gone on believing what I believed in my 20s, my early 20s about money, into my 30s, and I'm 38 now, if I continued to believe that into my 40s, your beliefs change naturally over time, but you also have the ability to change, to throw out old beliefs that don't serve you and adopt new ones. If I hadn't done that, if I continued to believe that money is the root of all evil, I would resist it. I would fight it. I remember making money early on when I was, in my early tattoo career, and I'd make more money than any of my friends, and I felt guilty. I felt weird about having all this money when they're like working a delivery job or they're a barista or a bartender and they're not making the same kind of money. I felt kind of guilty. I would treat everyone at the bar, to 1 or 2 or 3 rounds simply because I just was like, well, if I have it, I should give it away. Because I kind of felt shame. I felt guilt about having money. You can see how these emotions and these beliefs, so your thoughts, your beliefs create your thoughts create your emotions create your actions create your habits, and your habits create your identity. But it all stems back to your beliefs, your thoughts. So what I'm going to offer today is an exercise that you can walk through. Anyone can do this. And it is helpful to get a friend, an experienced coach, or anyone to bounce the stuff back off of, because this stuff exists in your blind spot. If it was easy for you to see and identify, you wouldn't continue to believe the things that you believe if you saw this. But I'm going to just kind of open the doors and show you the inside of your mind and how you can start to shift those belief systems now to give you immediately more freedom around money, around marketing, that will help you be successful in your business, in your life. So I'm going to share my screen for anyone watching this. If you're just listening to the podcast, I'm going to explain it all to you, but there will be a visual you can check out, but you're definitely going to get it just from listening here. So what I have in front of me is a spreadsheet that I've actually been using for a couple years now with my clients in the Artful Dollar and Artful Marketer program. You can see I'm scrolling through. There's just so many sessions I've done with people walking through this process that I'm going to walk through with you. And I'm actually going to take an example of one of the sessions I did fairly recently. So the first, they're broken up into columns here, okay? If you're not watching, I'm going to describe it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. And in the first column, it is your current belief system. So that's where you're going to write down, or just ask yourself in this moment, what do I believe about, and pick a topic. And now I use this in my relationship all the time. Me and my wife go through this exercise together all the time. It's sort of just become natural, like a habit. And oh my God, we have avoided so many arguments by identifying the belief system that is giving us the perspective that we're getting triggered by, and then we're able to come back down to reality and actually communicate. So you can use this in any area of your life. But let's pick one. If you feel you want to work on your relationship with money, pick that. You want to pick marketing, pick that. And so just ask yourself, what does money mean to you? What is money to you? What does marketing mean to you? And so I think we were focusing on marketing in this exercise. So some of the beliefs that these tattoo artists that I was working with came up with, I asked a whole group, it was like 20 or 30 of them, and I wrote a couple of them down. Someone said, if I earn more money, then there will be more stress in my life. Like, they knew that to be true. Money's peace of mind when I have it. So they knew that to be true when I have it. But when they don't have it, there's no peace of mind. Right? And so you're going to start to see there's going to be things that not necessarily bad or good. And I don't review any of these as bad or good. They have limitations. All beliefs are ultimately limiting beliefs, because all beliefs have a cap, a ceiling. They have a realm of what is possible and a realm of what is not possible. So as you go through life, you actually want to continue to let go of old beliefs. You might have created a belief doing this exercise that 2 or 3 years from now doesn't serve you. and you want to let go. And I've definitely done that as well. Money is freedom, but it will make me a bad person. When you get real honest with yourself about what you believe about money or marketing, like, I have enough money to live comfortably in the moment, but I will never be able to afford a house or retire, right? That's there for a lot of people. They just know that to be true. Like, I can survive. I know how to survive. I don't know anything about how to thrive. In fact, I believe that thriving, meaning being able to own property and retire and not need to trade time for money for the rest of your living days on this earth, people believe that's not possible for them. Very possible most of the people, a lot of the people listening to this might believe that somewhere. And again, this might not be your whole view, but if even a part of you believes that, that's going to create a limitation. If I have more money, I won't be relatable to my friends. That was a really interesting one. I think I kind of felt that when I was younger. And again, that's why I would like buy everyone rounds, or, if we were going somewhere, I'd order a takeout. We're all hanging out when I was younger, knucklehead, smoking weed and drinking, just order Chinese food. Everyone, oh yeah, I got it. Don't worry, guys, because I felt like I owed it to them, or just this shame or weird guilt. Money will make me a bad person, right? This now there's going to be other beliefs too and this is where, my personal belief system, I had, money is evil, but I need more of it to be happy. It's like a paradox. You will often find that if you're really honest with yourself, you have paradoxical beliefs about money or marketing. And so the next thing we look at is the impact. Okay, we identify the current belief that we want to work on. Then we want to look at the impact or the cost, and then we want to look at the payoff, right? It's sort of like doing a cost analysis of like, what are we getting out of this belief system, and what is it costing us to believe that system? And is ultimately the juice worth the squeeze? Is what I'm getting worth the trade-off of the limiting thing that I don't have access to, that I don't get, or that I do get out of it? So just follow me here. You might not fully get that, and that's okay, but I'm going to break it down. So the impact here, it keeps me from wanting more money, right? If you believe that money is evil, or if you believe that, if I have more money, I won't be relatable to my friends, then you kind of don't want more money. So you're going to find ways to either not earn it or get rid of it if you have it. If I earn more money, there will be more stress in my life, right? That's a belief. Then you're going to avoid making money, because why would you want more stress in your life if you know that's going to be the case? So you're going to make less money. It's like one of the costs, one of the impact, one of the things you don't have available to you is you can't earn a certain amount of money, because after a certain point, you're just going to find some subconscious way to self-sabotage or avoid it, or, you're going to come up with really good reasons and excuses, but you're not going to have the results that you're looking to get, that really give you the freedom that you want. It gives me an excuse to not try to make more. Right? If you believe money is the root of all evil, if you believe that, money will make me a bad person, and now you can look at it this way. What do you believe about other people that have money? If you're really honest with yourself, like if you look at, someone that's very wealthy, maybe they're self-made, they made their own wealth from scratch. What do you believe about that person? And then you're like, well, I'm judging them for having money, and so I don't want to become someone with money, because then other people will judge me. We're going to get into that, but you can see that it's costing you. You're going to make up excuses to not try more to make more money. It's ultimately costing you thousands of dollars per month, right? If you took two identical twins and they were the same age and the same skill level, they're both tattoo artists, and they have the same training. They literally are the same person genetically and skill set wise. They use the same machines, right? Everything the same, except that one of them believes that money will make them a bad person, and the other one believes that the more money they have, the bigger the impact they can make, the bigger the positive impact they can make, right? Those are their belief systems. Who's going to make more money? All we changed was the belief system. Now, it's not that simple, right? We can't just recite an affirmation and all of a sudden we've changed our minds. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because most people are just out there saying, oh, well, money is abundance and money is this. I don't think that actually works. it's costing you your self-expression. It's costing you your freedom, your ability to really just be your true, authentic, weird-ass self, because you're trying to fit into, you're trying to avoid bothering anyone. You're trying to fit in, and you can't ultimately be fully self-expressed and free and fit in at the same time. It can't happen. It will never work for you. And I have what I want. It's costing me having what I want later, right? I have what I want now, but I can't have what I want later. So that's the impact. And you're like, all right, that's a big price tag. I must be getting something out of this. Now, for a period of your life, you were getting the ability to relate to your peers, right? I was in the punk scene. We all hated capitalism. We all hated money and business and things. So I got to fit in. Like, that was a payoff that I got out of believing that money was the root of all evil. Now, it was costing me my ability to own a business and buy a house and save for retirement and invest for the future. But it gave me this sense of safety and belonging, right? So right there, you can see the cost and the payoff. And that payoff was worth it in my early 20s. It just wasn't worth it later on in life. And that was why I had to give it up. I'm going to get right back to this episode, but I just wanted to take a moment to speak to anyone that's feeling a little stuck right now in their tattoo business. Maybe you've noticed things have been slowing down a bit. Maybe things are pretty dead out there. I've talked to hundreds of tattooers who are experiencing that right now. A lot of changes have happened in the tattoo industry, and we either adapt with those changes, we learn how to grow in a saturated market, or we get left behind. And for anyone that is interested in actually having a marketing strategy conversation one-on-one with me, there is a link in the show notes with more details on how to schedule a call so that we can get you clear on what your next action is in helping you book more appointments consistently. So whether that is me giving you an assignment to do on your own, or we want to talk about what it looks like to continue to work together, either way, you're going to get the clarity that you need to take the next action in your business. So check that out. I do charge a small amount for these appointments, but like I said, even if it helps you book just one appointment, it will be worth your time, energy, and money. And I look forward to getting to chat with you. So check that link out in the show notes, and let's get back to this episode. So some of the payoffs, and this is the part where it can be a little bit tricky. You're like, I don't know what I get out of believing that, money will make me a bad person. Well, one of the payoffs is I don't have to take responsibility for myself, for my current situation, or my future, right? If money's bad, if money's evil, if money is freedom, but it will make me a bad person, well, then I don't have to take responsibility for making more money or saving more money, because ultimately it's going to make me a bad person. So I get kind of a great excuse. I get a reason to avoid this. Now, I'm going to just say this right here. If you're still listening to this, you are an incredible human being. You are in the top 10% of human beings that are willing to have this type of an honest look at themselves. So congratulations, just right there, just for hanging into this conversation. If you're seeing something that you maybe didn't see before, you're really taking this in, like I invite you to continue to explore that, because this stuff's uncomfortable. I don't do this because it's fun. I do it because it gives me freedom. But to get that freedom, I have to go through the tight space in order to get to that bigger opening. A big payoff that people get around their opinions and beliefs around money, one of the biggest payoffs is I get to be right. Human beings have done some fucked up shit just to be right. Just because they don't want to be wrong. Because their ego doesn't want to be wrong, they want to be right. And they want to fit into a certain group, and they have belief systems that other people agree with, and they all agree with each other, and they fit in, and it looks good, and they get to be right. But they don't get to be happy. To take an extreme example of this, I look at Nazis or white supremacists, right? They believe they're right. They are not happy. They are not free. They are not filled with love and joy and peace. No, they have a very hateful outlook on the world, and they get to be right about it, and they fucking genocide people for it. So that's a very extreme example, but we all do this on very micro, much smaller levels than that in our lives. We want to be right, and so we'll believe something that doesn't really serve us just because we know how to be right about it. We get to avoid looking bad. Now, this one, I would say if there's anything that motivates humans more than being right, it is avoiding looking bad. And I'd say this is probably the number one thing that is stopping most tattoo artists from ripping the lid off of their marketing and getting messy and just messing up. You got to make mistakes. You got to look bad on social media. You got to set up a website that you forgot the landing page and the link doesn't work. And then people are clicking on it and then they're like emailing you and like, hey, I can't do it. Like, I've done it. I've messed everything up. I've had automations that fire off and send out 40 emails to one person by accident. I've made hundreds of pieces of content that didn't do well, or I just was figuring something out and learning. You have to be willing to look bad if you want to grow. And if I have any superpower, it's at this point, I don't give a fuck about looking bad. I don't give a fuck what you think. Because the truth is, I never fit in that punk scene. I never fit in any tattoo shop I worked at besides the ones that I owned. Like, I had to create a space where I felt like I fit in. Because ultimately, I never felt that sense of belonging anywhere. And in a way, it's given me this freedom I gave up on trying to belong. I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't need to belong anywhere. I don't need to look good. I don't need to prove to anyone. I don't need to people please. I don't need to get you to like me. I don't need to get you to agree with me. I don't mind looking bad, because being willing to look bad gives me freedom to do a lot of things that I really, truly want to do in my life, like make as much money as possible and travel the world and buy a house. I actually put an offer on a house yesterday. I'm throwing that out there in the universe. We'll see what happens. High intention, low attachment to the outcome. I get to do things that I never thought possible, because I'm willing to look bad. I'm not trying to avoid it. And another payoff that keeps people stuck around money is that they get to have what they want now, right? So the impact, what it's costing them is that they can't have what they want later, but the payoff is that they get to have what they want now. And if you get to have what you want now, yeah, that sounds great. I'll take that now. And we say, oh yeah, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. So you can kind of start to dissect, okay, we've got these beliefs, and each belief comes with its set. And now you don't have to relate to every single one of these things that I've said here. I don't expect you to. You might not relate to any of them, but look inside yourself and see, what belief systems do I have? What is it costing me? And what is the payoff? What do I get out of it? Because you wouldn't believe what you believe if you weren't getting some kind of payoff. It's just we never actually do the cost payoff analysis to see, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is what I'm paying for this belief really worth what I'm getting out of it? And once you do that and you see, you're like, you know what? No, it's not. Like, believing money is the root of all evil, believing that having more money would make me a bad person, these things don't serve me. And so I need to give them up. But a big one for people is like believing that I need to work harder to make more money. That is a big one. And now I have nothing against working hard, but your ability to make more money has more to do with your ability to work smarter than it does to work harder. And how do I know this? I know a lot of people that work a lot harder than I do and don't have as much money. So working harder does not mean that you will make more money. Working smarter does. And working harder and working smarter will definitely make you more money. Now, what do we do with this? Well, the first thing we do with this is we just be aware of it. Just be aware. Oh, I'm believing that thing that doesn't serve me anymore. I'm giving my price to a client, and I believe that my price is a burden to my client. I believe every time I say the price that they're going to think it's too much. Anyone believe that? Right? And the impact and the payoff. Well, the payoff is I get to avoid that awkward, uncomfortable thing when someone's like, "Ooh, that's a little bit too much," or I get to avoid a client not getting tattooed by me. The impact is I constantly undercharge, and it's costing me thousands of dollars per month. So how do we get freedom around this, right? After we're being aware of it, I look at it as like lines of code in your brain, right? You have these belief systems, you have these thoughts that are just running these lines of code on repeat. We want to remove that old line of code, and we want to replace it with a new line of code. And now this is where, again, remember, I couldn't see it. My coach was like, asking me, well, what would money be if it could be anything? And so this is what I do with my clients, and this is what I'm asking you to do, is find an area of life where you have a lot of freedom. And it might be your artwork, but it might not. I have had people tell me it was with their families. I've had people tell me it was with their looks, their relationships, their sexuality. I've had people tell me surfing. I've had people one guy said, just when I go down by the lake with my family, like that's the area where he feels the most freedom. And so whatever it is, find that place where you just feel the most at peace. And what do you believe there? Right? What's your belief system there? And can you borrow from that? So just in the way that I borrowed, like, okay, I believe that creativity is a flow of energy. It's channeled through me, and I get to create this, to me and through me, and create this artwork. What could you borrow from that area of life and replace? We could do a little switcheroo. And now this isn't easy because you've been believing the same thing for, years, decades, right? You don't walk into the woods for 30 years and walk out in 60 minutes. Or a week or a month. It takes some time to practice this. And that's the whole purpose of like meditation and practicing awareness and journaling. That's the practice of being aware, and you can use those to do this kind of inner work, inner reprogramming. So someone said, this was a person that had a lot of freedom around their sexuality. That was like an area of life that they just loved exploring, and they didn't feel burdened or shameful or anything about in the way they did around money and marketing. So they said having money is sexy and being confident with it is hot. I loved that. I was like, oh, that is fucking cool. Imagine if you took that belief system and put it into money, and then you're like, well, what would now be possible for you? What actions could you have? Well, I'd show up the day determined to make more money, right? If you're showing up around your sexuality confident and comfortable and at ease, and looking to get what you want and have fun, well, why can't you apply that to money? Another way, if that one doesn't resonate for you, don't worry. Like, people have all kinds of limiting beliefs around sex and sexuality. So that might have opened up a whole other, you can do this exercise around that. I promise you'll have a lot more fun and probably a lot more sex in your life if you do. Another one is I'm playful and forgiving. I know I'm good at this. I'm playful and forgiving. I know I'm good at this. That was the belief system that they borrowed from this other. I think, if I recall correctly, the conversation was around like BMX biking. It was a client of mine that was their hobby, and they would mess up a trick 100 times before they nailed it. And so they were very forgiving with themselves. And they were very playful. And I was like, what if you took that belief system that's made you really good at BMX biking and you poured it into your relationship with money and marketing? So you can start to see, oh, wow, it's not that I'm either good at this or bad at this. It's that I have a belief system that serves me in this area, and I have a belief system that doesn't serve me in this area. Can I try it on? Like I said, like a jacket, can I try it on in this area? See what's possible there. Another one is marketing is like working out. I put in my reps and I see end results will come. And this was like a fitness, bodybuilder, tattoo artist, and recognizing that they've been in fitness for years. And now it takes time to see results from going to the gym. I need to do a little bit more of it. And it's been stopping me. I'm like, oh, I go to the gym once a week. I see a trainer. If I didn't work out with that trainer, I probably wouldn't go to the gym at all. So I need to work on that. I need to do this exercise in that area of my life. And you're never done. Like I am a flawed human being, by the way. I don't know if you know that. Like I'm a deeply flawed human being. I'm far from perfect. And I have all sorts of shit that I want to work on and get better at in my life. Physical fitness is one of those areas. So if he saw like that was what gave him freedom around working out and gave him fitness and health, and he was successful in that area of life, but he was afraid of marketing. And he's like, well, what if I just viewed it like putting in the reps? And I detached from the outcome and I was patient with it, and I knew that the results were going to come. That gave him so much freedom to then be consistent with marketing, because that's the hardest part and the most important part is being consistent. But then you start to see that your mindset doesn't allow you to be consistent because you tried something once, it didn't work, and you stopped doing it again. That's literally like probably one of the biggest things stopping tattoo artists from actually being successful with their marketing is they try it once or twice, it didn't work, and they just weren't consistent enough with it to deserve the results that they want. You want to earn another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 per month, but when you're really honest with yourself, you just weren't consistent with it. And why do you think you deserve to earn another $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 more per month, and you didn't put in the work, right? Again, working harder, working smarter. So now we have a couple new, and you can do this yourself and find some new ways to do this, right? Again, like the working harder, working smarter, you could go to the gym and you can work hard, but if you're not doing the right workouts in the right way and you're not eating smart, right? So I want you to step outside of that just working harder. You can be consistent and not work harder. Did you know that? A lot of people don't realize that because they have consistency with working harder. You could make it, when I started making content, in fact, I just made it my goal to just make one reel a week. I was like, that's it. I just want to consistently do one reel a week. I didn't have to work that hard, that much harder to do that. And then that became 2, and then that became 3, and it became easy to make the level of content that I make because I started out focusing on consistency, not about working harder to make better content. So now what actions would align with that new belief system? That's where you go from new belief. You're like, okay, well, I want to know tangibly, boots on the ground, the man in the arena. If you ever heard that kind of quote, that story, like you're in the arena. What does it actually look like if I were to believe this new belief system around money, marketing, whatever it is? Putting myself out there on social media, right? If I wasn't so busy avoiding looking bad and I thought that having more money was sexy and being confident with it was hot, then I'd probably put myself out there more on social media because I'd stop giving a fuck and I'd actually do what is required to connect with my clients and book more appointments. Do you see how this stuff is 90% mindset, 10% strategy? If we just focus on the strategy, but we never dive deep into this belief system that's stopping you from taking action, you're always going to be treading water. You're always going to be working harder. You're going to be trying a lot, and it's not really going to be getting you where you want to go. I would have structure around my social media presence, right? The same way they have structure around their workout process, right? I work out 3 days a week. I work on this, and then I work on this, and then I work on that. It's leg day, it's arm day, it's core. You'd have some structure around okay, this is the time that I script my content. This is the time that I film my content. This is when I edit it. And then I've got it set up for the next week. This is how I use carousel posts. This is how I use reels. This is how I use stories. Creating structure. That's what's really needed, structure and consistency. And then what's possible. So we need to see, in order to do this work, because this is going to challenge everything that you know about yourself, your core belief systems that have kept you safe thus far and comfortable in your life for 10, 20, 30 years are being challenged right now. And your ego, which is designed to keep you alive, to preserve your identity and everything that you think you know about yourself that you think is true, which probably isn't, it's designed to protect all that. It's being threatened by this process. That's why I said, if you've made it this far, you are, I'm going to give you a round of applause. Like, it's not easy for humans that have egos like myself and everyone listening to this to do this work. It's uncomfortable, but there's cheese down that tunnel. I promise you. You go down this tunnel, there's cheese. You keep going down the tunnel you've been going down, there's probably no cheese down that tunnel, right? We have to constantly be shifting and adapting our belief systems to match the life that we're creating. And so we need to be clear on the future that we're creating by doing this work to give us something to, like, the cheese, right? The carrot on the stick. Like, why are we doing all this? If you're not clear on what's possible, then you're probably not going to be consistent with the inner work so that you can be consistent with the outer work so that you can get the results that you want. So what's possible is, someone said I'd probably make another $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And they knew that's possible. And you listening to this, you probably know somewhere that there's no reason. You can't give me a tangible reason in the world. You can't say, hey, Ryan, see this? This is why I can't make another $4,000 to $5,000 per month. There's no tangible thing stopping you from doing that. There's only an intangible internal core belief system that's stopping you from doing that. So once you believe you can do that, then you're going to take actions that are consistent with the version of you that makes another $4,000 to $5,000 per month on top of what you currently make. Right? I could buy a house. I could retire one day. I could feel safe and playful with money. And when you realize that that's what you're working towards a place where you feel safe and playful, where you feel fulfilled and you feel rewarded by your efforts, and you're not struggling with money, you're playing with money, you're playing the game of business. You're not, making a fool of yourself on social media. You're building a life. And for me, that's what I use the tool of social media for. I use it to build an impact, to change the lives of people around the world. I talked to a girl in Greece the other day who told me that my content has literally completely transformed her life over the past year. And she used to be booking 2 to 4 appointments a week, and now she owns a shop. She's booked out for months. I use content to make a bigger impact. That's why I do it. I use content to create the life that I want to live. That's my why. That's my carrot. If I don't have a big, juicy fucking carrot that I'm working towards, why would I go through the trouble of doing all this internal work, all this external work, the podcast, everything that I do? Why would I do it? No, I would play a small game. I would play the how do I survive and get my bills paid at the end of the month game. There's nothing wrong with that game. It's just not the game that I want to play personally. And if you don't want to play that game and you want to create a life that is wildly fulfilling, that is juicy and just rich and full of expression and freedom, you're not going to find what you're looking for out there. You're only going to find it in your being, right? Your consciousness, and there's all kinds of great studies on consciousness, and it's not actually contained within the brain or the body, but that's where you're going to find it. Doing that internal work, looking at those old lines of code, those old belief systems that don't serve you, replacing them with new belief systems that do serve you, that do give you freedom to take the actions on the court, what it actually looks like to create what's possible, to create the life that you ultimately want to live. And that is why marketing and money is 90% mindset and 10% strategy. I sincerely hope that you take this practice and you do this, journal about this, explore this. I've been doing this for over a decade. This exact practice that I showed you today, I've been doing for over 10 years. And I have more freedom internally around money. I would say financial freedom isn't a number in the bank account, because there are people with 6, 7, 8 figures sitting in the bank account and they're not free at all around money. So it's not a number. It's a way of being. It's a mindset. And when you can be playful with business and free and expressive and view money as the same way you pick up a tattoo machine and you just want to make a cool piece of art, you can pick up money and marketing and business, and you can create the life that you want to create. I hope that this helps. Please let me know in the comments. Share this with someone who you feel would benefit from it. And if you are looking for any more support around this stuff, feel free to hit me up. Have a wonderful day. All right, if you found this episode helpful, one of the best ways for you to help other artists is to share this episode. Leave a review and subscribe. It helps other people find my channel, and you never know what a difference it might make for someone else. Plus, I will forever be grateful for your support, so I just want to say thank you and have a great rest of your day.